Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Lefebvre, and lately I've been having a lot of fun with mixed media. So today I thought we'd paint a loose, vibrant iris using watercolor and colored pencils. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, so today I wanted to paint some watercolor irises with you, and I've been working in this mixed media sketchbook of mine lately with acrylic inks and watercolor pencils and crayons, but also regular Prismacolor colored pencils. And I was playing around and I was painting these irises, which are so much fun. I did these with acrylic inks and colored pencils. But today I wanted to do something similar, but using watercolor and colored pencils. So it's going to be a little bit more loose and abstract like this. It's just so much fun and easygoing to do, instead of making it look super realistic. So this is kind of what I wanted to base it off of, specifically this color, but I wanted to show you kind of what I've been playing around and working on. This sketchbook is a Strathmore mixed media sketchbook, which is not the thickest paper, but it's just been really fun to play around in. I've been doing just some other things too. Let me know if you guys would be interested in these kind of acrylic ink landscapes. I've been having so much fun with acrylic inks and colored pencils. So if you're interested in something like this, let me know. But yeah, so today we're going to do it with watercolor. And I wanted to use this Paul Rubens hot press watercolor sketchbook because it is hot press. Now, hot press and cold press is basically the texture of the paper. Hot press tends to be a lot smoother, less tooth and texture to it. But I find that this one specifically is actually really nice for some of the cold press work that I do. So typically with hot press papers that I found in the past, it's really difficult to get those really nice wet on wet textures. But this paper actually does a really good job at soaking up the color and doing those fun blooms. So I thought we would use this today because I also wanted to use my Prismacolor pencils. So I just have this stack of regular, they're not watercolor, they're just Prismacolor Premier pencils, and I've been really enjoying using them for added textures and lines and stuff to my work. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. We're going to be doing a little bit of mixed media, watercolor, as well as pencil work, and we're going to get started. So I was looking up some reference photos for irises. I found this one on Pinterest. If you just look up iris, you'll find this or something like it. I can try and link it in the description. Now, obviously, like I said, we're going to make it nice and loose, not very detailed or realistic looking, but this is kind of the guide that I'm looking at. These petals that kind of flip up and fold down and the colors and everything. That's what I'm going to be basing my guide off of. So for the brushes you're going to need, what I've actually been using a lot recently are my flat brushes. I've really been enjoying using flat brushes. So if you just have like a bigger flat wash brush, that's great. The one that comes with my botanical set is really great for this as well. This is also coming back in stock too, my botanical set, so keep an eye out. And then for some of the smaller detail, I really like my size 2 round brush. All right, so let's get started. First, I would mix your colors with and prepare what you'd like. I'm going to go for this purpley color, maybe a little bit of ultramarine as well with it. So let's start with some of my dioxazine purple, which is kind of the color of it. If you want to go a little bit more pinky, you can. I want to kind of go a bit more blue, so I'm just going to add a little bit more ultramarine to it. Like that. I just love this blue. And I'm going to start off with the petals that are kind of facing up. So what I do with my brush is I always use the corner, and I'm going to press down from the corner and kind of just wiggle it down like so. I'm going to add some water to my brush and complete the stroke so it's a little bit lighter. Okay, so I started off with a decent amount of paint on my paper, or paint on my brush, and then I rinse my brush off to get a lighter wash, and then finish the stroke with the lighter wash, just so you get a bit of contrast. And just see, this kind of stroke is very simple. You don't have to worry about it looking exactly like an iris petal. Then I'm going to do one kind of coming out this way. Again, the corner down, wiggle a little bit, bring it down. Maybe add a little bit of water to it. I feel like this needs to be a bit bigger. Gonna bring it up like that. And there's just all these folds. What's nice about this flower is that it doesn't have to look like a specific petal right away. You can do a lot of kind of different movements because from different angles, it looks completely different. Okay, I'm gonna grab some more color. You can even really like add some more color in there while it's still wet. So I just took a little bit more of that purple and I'm just kind of tapping it in for a little bit more wet on wet. Like that to get some darker areas. And I'm gonna have a petal that kind of comes out this way. Like this. All right. Something very, very simple. Okay. Then we're going to do the petals that fall down in the front. Now there is a little bit of yellow on that. So I'm going to start off with just water, or maybe even just like my tinted water. And I'm going to do the same kind of thing. It's going to kind of come back. If you want to use a little bit of color just so you can see where you're placing it. And it's going to kind of scoop back like this. And it's bigger at the bottom down here, and then it kind of comes to a point in here. Again, very loose and kind of jagged. Now I know it's a little hard to see, but we want to keep it light so we can add that yellow without it mixing into the purple. Okay, then I'm going to grab my purple and I'm going to just add it to the tips here, like so, and maybe around the sides a bit, like that. All right. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, I'm going to have this one kind of up and down. I'm going to grab my purple. I'm going to touch it so we get those bleeds. A little bit more of the blue. Like so. Like that. And then before it dries, I want to get some of that yellow in there. So I'm going to grab some of my yellow, wash off my brush, and I'm just going to go down the center here with some of that yellow and let it bleed. I feel like some of this needs to be a little bit bigger. The petals down below are a little bit bigger than the ones up top, so I want to maybe do some behind. I'm going to grab more of this and I'm going to do just another one kind of back here to make it taller. Again, not really worrying about the shape too much. A little bit more blue maybe. A little bit more purple. Like that. And I'm going to have another one kind of coming out this way. Like you're only seeing half of that petal. Like so. Maybe a little bit more on this side. All right. But like, look at these blooms that you get naturally. I love this. This flower is so much fun to do as like an abstract kind of piece. Because you can really just let the watercolor, what sometimes we try to avoid with those watermarks and stuff, really embrace it with this. I'm just adding some darker bits of color. Like that. Maybe a bit here. Like that. Okay. Then I'm just going to smooth that out a bit. Smooth that out a bit. Okay. Then I'm going to grab my smaller brush for the green part. I'm going to grab some olive green. And I'm just going to get just like a little bit in here, just because there's space. If you didn't make enough space in between here, don't worry about that. The petals can be touching. Because there's some white dead space there, I'm just going to add it there because that is where the stem would be. And in the photo that I'm looking at, I see a bud right here, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to kind of just do the stem coming down like this. I'm going to fill it in. There's a bit of a thick stem. You can always grab a little bit of darker green or even like blue if you want. I feel like there needs to be a bit of yellow or something in here. There's like a little bit of dead space there. And I don't love the way some of this paint is drying, so I'm just going to try and smooth it out a bit. We're going to mask a lot of this too with the pencil crayons after, so don't worry too much about it. I think I'm going to grab a bigger brush for the stem. So the stem is kind of like an olivey green, but also has a little bit of orange to it. I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red, just to make it a bit more olivey. Then I'm going to do a little leaf down here. Again, just grabbing more color. Maybe even a little bit of blue. And then I'm going to do one of the buds kind of coming up here. So a stem. This one's going to be a bit more on the orangey, yellowy side. So I'm going to do like this tall, yellowy, pointed bud there. Like that. So it's like a yellowy green, maybe a tad bit of red to it to make it a bit orangey. Grab some more green. Just kind of tap it in there. Like so. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more yellow. I'm going to get a bit of yellow ochre too. And I'm just going to kind of add that to this part. Now it's already dried, so it's pretty defined, these lines, but I don't mind it. And I'm just doing a little bit of yellow kind of coming down. Like so. Maybe a little bit of yellow in the green here. Like that. Okay, now we need to let everything dry so we can have fun and do some detail. So let's let it dry first. Okay, so now that it's dry, we can start doing a little bit more kind of defined detail, not necessarily detail, but just like detailed lines and stuff. Now you can do this with watercolor or your pencils. The one thing I love about using the pencils is that they're pretty opaque over watercolor. So if you need to lighten up any other colors, you definitely can. I'm gonna grab some of these darker, like the dark purple here, a light purple, kind of like this ultramarine, violet blue, maybe even a little bit of pink, this light blue. And I'm just gonna make sure they're sharpened because you really do want a nice point when you're working with this kind of stuff. I'm even gonna grab some white, and this is where I can start kind of adding highlights and stuff where I need to. I'm gonna lighten up this area. Okay, so now you can kind of look at your reference photo if you like, see where the darkest areas are, and you can really even just darken them with the pencils. I find it a little bit easier sometimes than using watercolor, but it's totally up to you. So I'm just like adding these darker bits down the center here. And I'm just being really jagged with it and rough. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but again, you can also use your watercolor if you would prefer that. So just grabbing my size 2 brush and adding, you can just do a mix of both, really. And I'm just adding these little kind of lines. So I like to find little divots in the tips of the petals, and then from the divot kind of come in and create these little movement lines. Add some darker bits, like so. But it's totally up to you how you want to do it. You can have curves. And just don't let yourself get mixed up in the it has to be perfect or exactly like the photo. I do enjoy you know, taking white and using that as like highlights, or maybe some areas that I made too dark in the beginning, or just to add a little bit of extra texture. I think it looks so cool. Even if you don't want to do white, add a little bit of blue to it. Just adds a little bit of color. You can do your lines. Some people, if you have a shakier hand and it's hard to do those little line details with a brush, this is a really great option for that. And you're just going to be loose with it and fun. So what I like to look at on the reference photo is also which way are the lines going? Kind of gives me an idea of how to draw them in. But all this extra little detail that you do is helpful. I find to get the better, finer lines, because then you don't have to sharpen as much. I like it doing it better with my brush. And then on the iris too, you also have these little darker marks, right, especially where the yellow is. So they kind of come in. Just getting really, really light pressure. Like that. It's almost like they're stripes. They're so pretty. Make some thicker, some thinner. And just really let loose with it. I'm also trying to break up some of the lines, like they're not all continuous lines. They kind of remind me of stretch marks. They're beautiful. Really, really light pressure. Just doing some extra darker areas, like there's folds. Like that. Just tons of movement lines. Like that, and then I just want to go a little bit lighter again. Maybe even grab a little bit of a light purple, like this. Add a bit pop of a pink or a purple in there. Like, you do not have to stick to the reference photo or anything. Like, your own rules. Have fun with it. I like this pink. And obviously you do not have to use the same colors as me. I really like that pink with it. You can even grab a little bit of orange. A little bit more vibrancy in there. And then even this, so I'm going to be using a lot of the pencils more so for the bud here and then the leaves. Add a little pop of orange there. But I just love the ability to make it very opaque on top. I'm going to grab a bright green here. The chartreuse color I love. And then I get a dark green, which I need to sharpen. If anyone has a way to sharpen your pencils without them breaking on you, let me know, because I feel like a bunch of mine are splitting and it's really frustrating. I don't think my that sharpener worked really well for that moment, but like at other times, just gonna add a little bit of darkness in here, maybe some lines, textured lines. Also, when I do mixed media and it's not a very, what's it called? Realistic or detailed piece, I like to add just like, you know, little textured lines there. Like that. Just darkening some areas over here. But this paper is really great for this. Add a little bit of, I don't know, gold. And just kind of have fun with it. But you can keep going or you can stop. You can do whatever you like to make it yours. But I encourage you to play around with both mediums, see what parts you like about it, and just try different things. Because this is honestly so much fun to do. So there you go. There's kind of the tutorial-ish. Just have fun and be creative, and that's about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in our next tutorial. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.